Aloha everybody! In today's video, we will be talking about Hawaiian beach words. If you're new to my channel, welcome. E komo mai. I'm Tracie, and I'm a Hawaiian language singer, songwriter, teacher, and most recently an author of my own autobiography of a book called Life and Race Through the Eyes of a Brownish Local Girl, Tita E. You can get it on my website if you want more details. Mako ka?
I.
Stay till the end and I'll tell you about some upcoming video that I'm working on. So of course, let's start with our first word. And our first word is, of course, the beach. Kahakai. All right. So e ho'opili mai. Kahakai. Now, if we want to say the beach, there's three words for the word the, which is ka, ke, and na. Now, how and when do you use either ka, ke, or na? The words ka and ke mean the singular, meaning one. And the word na means plural, means the plural, meaning more than one. So how do you know whether to use ka or ke? Because ka or ke both mean the singular. So the rule is that the word ke goes with words that begin with the letters ke, e, a, and o. And ka goes with the words that begin with everything else. And that would be I, U, he, la, mu, nu, pi, be, and okina. So you say, well, what do you mean, Tracie? Okay, let me explain. So the word kahakai, our first word kahakai, if we want to say the beach, is it ka kahakai or ke kahakai? Well, the word kahakai begins with a ke. So because our rule says words that begin with the letters ke, e, a, and o, it would be ke kahakai. Does that make sense? Maupopo yaoi? Pretty simple, right? Why do you put it in that order? Ke, e, a, and o. Well, that's the way that I learned it when I was learning Hawaiian. And the word keao, ke, e, a, o, means the cloud. So it's easier for me to remember. Okay? Make sense? Maupopo? Mai kai. So let's go to our next word. Because we have kahakai, which is the beach, ke kahakai, but we also have ocean water, right? So the ocean is kai. E ho'opili mai kai. Now is kai ke kai or ka kai? Well, again, kai begins with ke, so it is ke kai. Maupopo? Mai kai. All right, now let's go to the word sand, and sand is one. So how would we say the sand? Well, again, one begins with o, and so it would be ke one, ke one. E ho'opili mai, ke one, mai kai, ke one. And next would be waves, right? Because the waves are at ke kai. So how would we say the wave? So wave is nalu. And these are all general words, right? These are all general words. So remember, in Hawaiian, some words have more than one meaning. So let's say we want to say the wave, one wave. Wave is nalu. So is it ka nalu or ke nalu? Well, look at our rule. Right, nalu begins with a nu, so it is ka nalu, mai kai. Now what if we want to say the waves, plural? The rule is na is plural, more than one. Nalu, the waves, na nalu, na nalu, right? Because it's more than one wave. Na nalu, mai kai. What about this? The grass, mai kai. Because there's grass and there's also sand at the beach, right? So grass is mau'u. E ho'opili mai mau'u. So mau'u begins with a mu. So is it ka mau'u or ke mau'u? Maikai. Ka mau'u. And again, sand was what? One. So it's ke one. Now, we have mau'u, grass, and we have sand, one. But for plural, we want to say, yeah, but that's a lot of grass and that's a lot of sand, right? So how do we say plural? Because that's a lot. Well, normally the rule that I learned was if it's something that's uncountable, meaning infinite, you can't count it, right? You cannot count all the little pieces of grass, and you cannot count all the little pieces of sand. So it would be, you would use the ka or the ke for infinite words, right? Like hair, lawoho. You cannot count individual pieces of hair. So it would be ka. Well, lawoho is hair. So it would be ka lawoho, right? And just like sand and grass, usually you would say ka mau'u for grass, ke one for sand. E ho'opili mai. Ka mau'u, ke one, mai kai. So how about this one? We want to say the rock. You see the rock at the beach? The rock. So pohaku is the general term for rock. So how do we say the rock? Is it ka pohaku or ke pohaku? All right. Well, it starts with a P. Pohaku begins with a P. So it's ka pohaku. Now, how would we say the white rock? Because we see that the rock is white. So ka pohaku is the rock. And what is white? Ke'o. And that would go at the end. So it's ka pohaku ke'o. E ho'opili mai. Ka pohaku ke'o. All together. Ka pohaku ke'o. Mai kai. Now what if we want to say the rocks? The rocks. Okay. So you see here, we have two rocks. So we would say na pohaku, right? For the rocks. How would we say the white rocks? Na pohaku ke'o for white, mai kai. Na pohaku ke'o, mai kai. Na pohaku ke'o, mai kai. Hanaho, na pohaku ke'o. What if we have plenty rocks? What if we have lots of rocks, tons of rocks? Okay, so we have tons of rocks. So would we say ka pohaku? Well, that would mean one rock. Or would we say na pohaku for many rocks? Na pohaku, right? But remember, those rocks seem uncountable, meaning you cannot go and count every single one of those rocks. So you would say ka pohaku, mai kai, which would mean the rocks, infinite, right? Because remember I told you, when it's uncountable, like hair, lawoho, you would use ka or ke, mai kai. So ka pohaku. How would you know if in the context of what you're saying, you're meaning one rock or a whole bunch of rocks, infinite? Well, it's going to be in the context of when you're talking. If you look at these pictures and I say, enana I kapohaku, you know that I'm talking about a multitude of rocks because you see all of those rocks. Mapopoya oi? Does that make sense? Mai kai. Okay, we see a hole. So would that be ka puka or ke puka? Because puka is hole. Right, because it begins with a P, ka puka. Now, what if we wanted to say for this puka right here, the crab hole? Because it's a crab hole, right? So ka puka is hole. And we wanted to say the hole of the crab. It's the crab's hole, right? So we want to say the hole of the crab. So we would say kapuka o of, and papai is a general word for crab. So would it be ka papai or ke papai? Right? According to our rule, it would be ka papai. So it would be kapuka o ka papai. Kapuka o ka papai, mai kai. So we have a bunch of big rocks. So what is rocks again? Rocks is pohaku. So ka pohaku or ke pohaku if we're talking about one specific rock. Right, begins with a P, so ka pohaku. Now, what if we want to say the rocks, right? If we could count them all, and it's countable. Nā pohaku, maikai, nā pohaku. Now, what if there's just too many rocks to count like that? So it's infinite. We can't count it. So what would it be? Maikai, according to our rule, it would be ka pohaku. And again, how would you know if I'm talking about one rock or I'm talking about a whole bunch of rocks? That's infinite. Of course, it's in the context. You could see there that I'm looking at a whole bunch of rocks and I said ka pohaku. E nana I ka pohaku. Ai, maikai. Let me know what your thoughts are, your questions are in below. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video. Let me know what you would like to learn next. So I have a couple vikio coming up. I'm working on a music video and I'm working on a beach protocol vikio. What is that? Heahakela. That is, what do we do when we go to the beach? What is the Hawaiian custom when we go to the beach? So if that's something that you want to learn, stay tuned for my upcoming vikio. And until next time, mahalo for joining me. Aloha. Ahui ho.